Back to another episode of A Little Off the Top with your hosts,
Hannah
and Noah. We got a good one for you here. We're going to have a special guest on. We'll get to him in just a little bit. We got a little bit of an intro section here to get things started, of course. Doing a whole new setup here, trying to figure it all out. Our first in-person interview that's actually where you can look at him. We're in the same room, and it should all sound okay. So hopefully it does. Had some annoying things trying to figure out headphones and such, but you know that's the nature of the beast. So we do what we got to do, and we'll make it, right?
That's right.
All right. So this is going to be another one of those Today We Get to Know episodes. But first, what's been going on? I guess we should talk to him about what's been going on recently while he's been visiting us, but not yet. What's been going on in the life of the host here?
Well, at this point, it would be...
We're...
in August.
Yeah, this would be episode 4.
3 or 4, depending on how the first episode goes.
I'm going to say it's episode 4. Just because I really want that premiere episode to be 2 episodes. So
I have a feeling we'll have enough content.
I do believe so. We'll probably do like a cut it right here and record another session type of thing, just to do that. But anyway, so we're in August now. We're done with the location we were in. We braved packing everything up and going down the treacherous steps of where we currently live.
Oh, so many stairs. And so steep.
Yeah, very steep stairs. We had a naughty dog the other day who decided to run over to the neighbor's yard, which is right next door. It's not like across the road or anything, but she wanted to see what they had for their wares at their yard sale.
Yeah, she's nosy.
Yeah, she is
nosy neighbor.
She is a nosy neighbor.
She would 100% be the coworker that stands around the water fountain or whatever.
Yep.
And talks all the gossip.
100%.
100%.
She also cusses like a sailor.
You know it.
I know she does. I think she's a crabby old woman on the inside with every once in a while. You got that one lady, I'm going to say, at church that you see her and you say, "Oh, hey, Miss Gertrude." And she's like, "Hey." But then, like, every once in a while, you see, like, at the potluck, she brought, like, the pie, and she's like, "Did you try my pie?"
Yeah.
And you're like, "Yes," and I loved it. And she's like, "Good, honey." And you're like, "Oh, she can be nice." I think that's A1 on
Maybe
the inside.
she does love me.
Oh, man. Well, okay. We're here today. I'm sorry. There's a couple of times where it's, like, clipping and stuff, so I'm, like, trying to check things while we're going and trying to make sure it all works and it's all kosher and copacetic. But anyway, not a lot really happened since our last episode. Hannah had to work the weekend and has to work it again this weekend. You worked an overnight shift.
I did, and it sucked.
Yeah, that was rough.
I will not be signing up for any more of those.
And what else happened? Well, we're going to see Jason Isbell this Saturday, so we'll talk about that again on another episode. But how about we've been just messing around. Why don't we just get to the meat of the episode?
Let's do it.
All right. We're gonna sit and talk to the sky. We're gonna sit and talk for a little while. It's time to get to know somebody. Yeah. Well, it is time to get to know somebody, right?
Uh-huh.
And we've got a special guest in person with us right here, a former podcast host with me on a podcast that's been mentioned here and there, and then died along with the way of many podcasts in the time of lockdown. Our illustrious guest here, Keenan Michael.
Hey, what up, what up?
So glad to have you
Died,
here.
huh?
What?
Died, huh?
Yeah, the podcast died. Oh.
Not in our hearts, though.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm still recording with
Died
you in
is
my soul.
Died is a strong word.
Died is a strong word. Well, I mean, Come on.
Laid to rest.
That's right. That's right. Rest in peace to
the Beefcake
Boys.
At peace.
I mean, rest in power, I think
There
is the
you
right
go.
way to say it. Rest in
Wakanda
power.
forever.
That's right. Wakanda forever. Two of the whitest men ever hosting a podcast, and we try to say Wakanda forever.
Amen.
We might get canceled.
No, we didn't say that.
Oh, that's
Keenan
right. Keenan said that.
Yeah, I'm a guest. I can say
Yeah,
what I
that's
want
right.
on this podcast.
No.
Oh, no. You can't
Denied.
say. That's right. Denied. Sit down.
All right, we'll see.
I can
You will
scrap
get
this.
cut.
Go on then.
Anyway, so Keenan, we have a history.
Oh. That makes you sound like my ex or
You
something.
need to.
Wait.
You need to come. You need to follow up.
We have a history. We were roommates in seminary.
Roommates.
And they were roommates. We were roommates at. Stop.
In old college. In old seminary.
I'm just laughing at y'all. You're funny.
A good old Southeastern.
That's no. Don't say names.
Sorry.
We don't give out personal info.
A
here.
good old redacted.
Redacted.
I mean, you gave his last name.
No, I didn't. I gave his middle name. Oh man, no. Okay,
Which
I
one?
gotta get back into host mode. I'm being off the mic, Noah.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, we were roommates in I was in grad school. You were in college.
Mhm.
We were in a band together.
Yep.
That toured around
Queen.
doing what you call it?
Worship.
Yeah, like worship, but like we were doing
D-Nows.
D-Nows and
Youth weekends.
retreats and some conferences, like a little bit of that
Leading
type
for
of stuff.
churches.
Yeah, leading for churches. It was a really cool time. We big old band. There was like what 7 of us, 8 of us.
Mhm.
Like, so that was a lot of fun. Keenan played drums in that. I played bass and sang.
Heck yeah.
And so we were the rhythm section. And that's kind of how we first met up. Actually, my first memory of you was before that. So, Keenan, kind of give a backstory as to how you moved to our place. Before it was ever our place, it was your
Yeah.
place.
You probably know the interaction better than I do, but I think the setup I know.
Yeah.
So I had originally moved off campus probably like 2018, something around there.
That sounds about right.
2018, and I moved from McDowell. McDowell's like the lower projects of redacted university.
Yeah,
And,
it was the cheap dorms.
and I ended up moving out, wanted to get a place of my own with a couple other roommates, and I lived in Cary, redacted. And it was a fun time. It was like three other guys, and then just rent was too high, and so I came back.
Yeah.
And I was originally going to try for like Flaherty or something, but I was like, I don't have any money for Flaherty at Redacted.
Redacted.
And I was like, all right, I'm going to come back. And then I applied for the same housing, and then I got the same apartment.
That's pretty crazy.
That
is
I
pretty
left
crazy.
from.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
They
luck
just
of the
held his
draw.
place for
Yeah.
him.
Luck of the draw, I got the same house. And I loved sleeping on a couch before I left.
Yeah.
And the couch that I left in safekeeping with Redacted in Noah's apartment.
Right.
And so when I came back, I was like, "Hey, can I have the couch back?"
Yeah.
And they were like,
you
yeah.
came to the door and you said, "Hey, can you help me move a couch?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "What's up? I don't know who you are." And you're like, "I'm Keenan." He's like, "I'll give you some brownies if you help me move this couch." And I was like, I mean, that's not too bad. How far? And you were like, "Oh, it's just 3 doors down." And I said, "Never made it as..." No, that is not. This, nope, that's not it. Oh, kryptonite. And you said, yeah. And then no, I didn't say that. But
No.
but we did move the couch. She gave me some brownies.
Uh-huh.
And
I got my couch back.
yeah, you got your couch back.
Yeah.
And then from there, we started to, like, our friendship started to bud because, like, a couple days later, we had our first rehearsal for the band.
Yep.
That was through the school. It was like
Right,
it was like an audition band through the school, and I walk in and no, I was there first. You walk in and I'm like, oh, you're the dude that I moved the couch for, and you're like, yeah,
Yeah.
And so
it's crazy. I
that-
gave you brownies.
yeah,
Probably what I said.
And that night we, you and me and Steve. We went to Waffle House after rehearsal and ate at
forgot
Waffle
about
House.
that. Yeah.
And that kind of started our bonding. And then what really, really, like, locked down our friendship over the time of being in the band together, you know, I just realized how genuine of a guy you were. And so I wanted to have friends like that. But from there, you know, it was kind of this, I don't know, first off, I didn't like the where I lived all that much in redacted, but then also, like, you were like, hey, I'm gonna have some spots open, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll request to move over, and so that really started us hanging out a ton.
Yep.
And then lockdown happened, which made us start hanging out even more.
Old COVID.
Because nothing was going on, and that really grew our friendship a ton very quickly, which is where the podcast happened, and you started playing through all the Zeldas and stuff like that.
Yep.
And from there, you know, we were a part of some huge parts of each other's lives, you know.
And you brought over some nerd, and it was the trifecta.
That's right. And then another roommate followed me, and it was the trifecta. And then we all got married within about a year of each other to our respective partners, and the rest is history. We all moved off to different places, but we're still good friends with each other.
Redacted, if you hear this podcast, you're not just a nerd. You're in our hearts.
And also on top of that, that roommate, Dalton, redacted. I was in his wedding.
Yep.
And Hannah and I's first date was at his wedding, and you weren't there.
Yeah,
Nope.
and you could have
had
met
a
someone
good old
special.
Yeah, that's right. But
Lord
your
is sovereign
partner
over
was
this thing,
also at that. Your now partner was at that wedding
with someone else.
with someone else, and then you guys.
Glad
ended
I
up
didn't meet
meeting-
him.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what I
right. Then a few months later, you guys meet and hit it off. And then a little bit after that, Hannah and I get married because we took the quick track.
Yep.
Some people know how to pray.
That's right. And then you know, about a year later, I was in your wedding. So I mean,
Yeah, dude.
and you were in, both you and Dalton were in my wedding. So I mean,
Right.
really cool stuff. But I know all that stuff. I know,
Right.
you know, I met
It's the
your
circle of
family.
life.
I know all that stuff. I want to know before that. I want to know I want to know Keenan's story about how he came to Christ, and like,
Okay.
I want to know Keenan's story about high school. I want to know college. I want to know your time.
Dang.
I know a slight little bit about your time somewhere else, and I want to hear about that. So let's start.
Sure.
Let's start from the beginning. So I know your mom, Rhonda, and your dad.
Redacted.
I know your mom, redacted, and your
John.
dad, redacted.
John.
I knew his name was John. Anyway, but you know, give me a little bit of a picture of like your relationship back then. Like, what growing up, what was home like for you?
Yeah. So, man, that's
That's a lot.
a big
I know. That's a lot. That's a lot.
um.
I'll have some funny questions later. I promise.
Okay. So trying to think. So yeah, I was I don't even know where to start. So like,
You have any brothers and sisters?
I do. I have.
And there's quite the age gap, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that.
Okay. So my brother is 10 years older than me. My sister is 7 years older than me. So I was the baby.
That explains a lot.
Thanks, Hannah.
Baby.
And yeah, so growing up, I always kind of wanted to be like my brother. And then when I got to middle school, it was like both my sister and my brother were kind of off the long range, and I was kind of by myself, so with my mom and dad. So
Right.
that was fun. But my mom was kind of the spiritual influence in my life, and she was always there and cared for us and cleaned and cooked and prayed with us and tanned our hides, and like she was just a big influence in our lives, and a lot of what I know about faith I owe to both her and my grandpa.
Right. Now I kind of have a funny story about your grandpap. I'll save it for later though. I have a personal interaction with grandpap, right? That's who you're talking about, right?
The goat. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. All right,
Grandpap.
go on with your story.
Yeah, and so that's kind of where I grew up. I grew up in Yorktown, Virginia.
Redacted.
Sorry. It's so hard. It's all right.
No, I don't care. I'm just
You can share whatever.
yeah, you can
personal-
share whatever you want to share. I'm just being silly.
But yeah, I mean, when I grew up, I just I was like an emo kid. Well, I guess before that, when I prayed to receive Christ, I was with my mom in the car just asking questions.
How old were you?
7 years old.
That's
Wow.
cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, man. And I would just ask her anything in the car, just like off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Like, why is the sea blue? Why is the sky red sometimes? And then things like, man, who was Jesus and why does it matter? And I just remember my mom walking me faithfully through the gospel, that if you repent in your heart, that you believe that you're a sinner and that you need a savior, you can pray to receive Christ, to know him as your personal savior. And I did in the car with my mom.
That's awesome.
And yeah,
That's so
so
sweet.
it's a really sweet moment, man. And I think later in life, I didn't know. The way that I explain it is that I understood Jesus as Savior, but not
Right.
his lordship over my life. And I wrestled with sin struggles and different things. And when I was in high school, I started calling girls up and leaving like messages and being like, hey, yeah, I'm not going to go into that.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
But yeah, long story short, and then I got called in by the police to come in and to confess for the people I had called, the messages I had left. And so mom had no idea. Like, I was kind of living a double life at the same time, going to youth group and not really like being this good kid on Sundays and Wednesdays, but then kind of like behind closed doors doing weird stuff. And anyway, I went to the police, and my dad is just absolutely irate and just can't stand me. And my mom is like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening right now.
Yeah.
And I just remember like the officer saying, hey, these are all the numbers you've called. We have the messages that you sent. This is all the things that you've done. What do you have to say for yourself? And at that point, I was like, the jig is up, dude. I can't.
Right.
I can't just play it off like I didn't do it. And I was just like, I'm sorry. I really never meant to do this or go that far or
You're right.
embarrass my parents. And I'm just really sorry. And I went home and I was just like crying my eyes out, just not sure about life anymore. Because it was 9th grade, 10th grade. And that was just life-shattering for me. And I was like, people will know that I'm some weirdo. People will know the things that I've done. And my dad was like, well, your brother and sister would never do things like this. And I just felt really ashamed about myself and who I was. And then I just remember sitting in the I wanted to say carport. I don't even say that. But like in the driveway with my mom, just crying. And I'm like, Mom, I don't know where to go from here, man. I don't know what to do. And my mom said something I'll never forget. And she just said, you know, Keenan, I want you to know no matter what you do or where you go or what choices you make, I'm your mom and I love you. And I really understood. I feel like I understood that God was planting the seeds of grace in my own heart to be able to say, hey, there's nothing that I could do to earn God's grace like I would try with my dad.
Right.
But I really understood that I was loved as a son.
Yeah.
Not because I earned it, but because Jesus really truthfully loved me and showed his grace for me on the cross. And I wish I could say it was that easy. Later in high school, I just got really angry with God, and I was like, God, you made me like this. Why do I struggle with sin so hard? Like, it's just so hard for me. And I even was like, you know, Jesus, like I struggled also with depression and self-worth and things like that. And I was just like, Jesus, if you want my life, take it. Because if I have it, I'm not going to do anything with it.
Right.
just really I don't want it if you're not going to do anything. And I really need you. If you're the one that's going to do something with it, you better take it and have it. And Jesus was like, thanks. I know exactly what I'm doing with it. And it was just like, from that moment, man, Jesus just opened my eyes to the Bible as a new book. It wasn't something that I just read to attain something.
Right.
It was that Jesus really loved me as a son, and I could read it and be like, holy crap, this stuff is for us, dude.
Yeah.
And it changed my heart for like missions, and I shared the gospel with people in my high school, just like by the Holy Spirit. It's nothing I did.
Right.
But just like prayed for teachers that like had nothing to do with Jesus, and I really owned my faith. I feel like God like built that in me when I was in high school and a junior. I just really felt called to do that. Like Jesus had saved me and taken and had my life, and I was like, it's his, dude.
Yeah.
So Jesus freak was big during that time. I was like, here it is, man. Take and use. And redacted.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with God, man. Just being in his presence, praying to God as like a real father and one that really cared to hear the things that I went through. And like, man, when I prayed, I was like, it wasn't like I was trying to do all these like, I don't know, like, like KJV prayers and stuff like that. It was really like, God, dude, like I was struggling with this today.
Right.
And like this person got on my nerves and this hurt, and like just sharing with God. And I really do think that God like answered those things in such specific ways when I was in high school, and that I was like, dude, Jesus changes lives, man. And anyway, that's kind of like how I understood grace from early on. I had a lot of, mom always prayed that God would put men of God in my life that would be able to show me. And since I was in 6th grade, man, like I could name them all. Yeah. I guess I can't do that.
Yeah.
But
if you want to, you can.
But like, I mean, like Jeff Mingy, Keith McMinn, Ike Mincer, Frank Knight, George Wood, all those dudes, like year after year after year after year, God's faithfulness in showing men of God that just trained me and loved on me and cared for me. Like you talk about youth ministry, man.
Yeah.
Holy crap, dude.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. It's like that the family of God really showed up and showed out in my life when I was in high school and middle school. That's why I have such a passion for youth ministry.
Right, yeah.
In part, I feel like, because the men in my life were just so solid, and like whether it was throwing the football or learning from how they treated their wives or like different things, I was like, God has just shown his faithfulness in all those relationships. So but yeah, anyway, I could go on and on. But
no, thank you for sharing that, for sure. And just the beauty of God's grace, in the sense that like God says to you, like, I see not just the stuff that you've done on the outside, but I see down to the very core of you where your worst thoughts are. Right. And I still love you totally. Yeah. And so I struggle in a different way than you with father stuff. Like father issues are something that's very hard for me, and family issues, honestly. And like the fact that we can look at this heavenly Father who created everything, who spoke everything into existence, and he says, "Hey, I love you.
Yeah.
Despite all of it, I see you through the lens of love.
Yeah.
You know, I see you through a lens
Right.
of grace and mercy,
Yeah.
and loves you with there's not anger behind it. There's not like a
shame.
There's not shame. There's not he's not a mean judge that's sitting there waiting to give you everything as soon as you end up at the gates, you know.
Yeah.
You know, that's not what it is.
Right.
It's a son who came down and died for us.
That's right.
And he's up there, and now he's advocating for us to the Father, saying, "Hey, remember what I did for them? Like, look at me. Remember what I did for them? You know, like." And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And
there's kind of like a. Go ahead.
I was just the only other thing I was going to say is just the beauty of like manly men
Mentally manly.
community of men together who are believers.
Yeah.
That's the thing I loved with the three of us when we lived together.
Yeah.
Was the community that we had that when things sucked, we could come to the other ones and be like, "Hey, this sucks. I'm struggling currently in this." And at one time, we all three were working at separate churches, and we could come together and be like, "Hey, this is currently happening to me in my position. This is currently happening to me." Like, and we could talk about it in a productive way, but also hear the other person without being holier than thou. There was never a moment of like, I know more than you, or I'm smarter than you, or I'm holier than you, because true community is seeing that person and meeting them right where they are. That's the beauty of it. Challenging them, yes. But challenging them in a loving way.
Right.
Not just calling them an idiot. So for some reason men like to go the complete you idiot. Men like to go this complete like hard. And that's not what Jesus did. Jesus challenged them, and Jesus challenged them over and over and over and over. But Jesus loved first.
Yeah, man.
And so, thank you for sharing that. That's
man.
That's beautiful.
And kind of in that same vein, it was kind of like a surreal moment when we were in COVID. And I think I didn't know Dalton from Adam, and I had only heard part of your story.
Right. Yeah.
But like all three of us, I remember that time I first realized where we all had it like issues with like our dads.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh man.
Yeah.
It's like a cool thing, dude.
Right.
When we're like encouraging each other to be better than that, or to do better, and like knowing, I mean, exactly what you said, knowing that that God is our Father. Right. And that we can have hope. And I mean, like, even sometimes like you would speak things into my life that I was like, I really didn't see that. And then vice versa. Just like being able to sharpen one another and say, hey, you know, that could have gone better, or this, you know, but ultimately that your heart is there and like affirming that in each other. Right. Just being like, hey, I see what you're doing. You know, this could have gone better, obviously, but you're working at it, kind of thing. And
we didn't pacify each other, but we encouraged each other.
Yeah,
you know, and
absolutely.
I think that was really special. And a lot of times, men think that we struggle with not to get all into this deeply, but a lot of times men think that they struggle with things, and no other man struggles with it. And then as soon as they bring it up, like 85% of the group is like, I struggle with that too. And it's like, oh, I'm not alone. Like, I don't know how it goes in women's group because I've never been in a women's group, but I'm sure it's the same. Like, we love to, as humans, we love to isolate ourselves. Yeah. And I think that I think that that's something that you did majorly in my life, was to help me not isolate myself when things were going wrong. Yeah. Because I really easily, as we've covered in a previous episode, I am much the introvert. And especially before Hannah and before you, both of you have played this positive role in my life, but it's the sense that, like, when things would go wrong, I would just, like, disappear. That's it. Noah's gone for a while. Yeah. Like, you don't see Noah for a while. Noah goes and he gets comfort in his food, and that's it. Sure. And that's how I developed an eating disorder in college, you know, and things like that. And gained more weight. I was always the big kid, but I got even bigger. Anyway, this is not about me, but I say this to say a positive thing about you, because you are a man who tries to find community and tries to live in community as we were created. We were created. I heard somebody word it this way, and I've kept it since then. I was young when they said this, but we were created by community for community.
Yeah, man.
Like it is using triune speech when it's talking about the creation of men. And so like the creation of man, not just men, but man. I'm not trying to turn this into a He-Man Woman Haters Club or anything like that. I'm talking from our perspective. But Keenan, to go from that,
sure.
Like, what? Because you're a boisterous, loud guy. Like you're a big personality, and I don't mean these in negative ways. But what is something when people just get a quick read on you? What is something that they misunderstand about you?
Oh, misunderstand.
Yeah. What's a common misunderstanding that you got before?
I think. Wow, man, this is kind of like. Whew.
I told you we were going over the deep questions.
Yeah, man.
I'm putting you in the hot seat.
I think that the thing that I have run into so often, man.
Yeah.
Like, so often, and it kind of hurts my heart, but because I've been in a lot of ministry situations.
Right.
A lot of people take loud and boisterous as dumb.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of people take like super excitable as this guy doesn't know anything about anything.
Right, yeah.
And that's not true. It's just like the reason that this is kind of why I do what I do. There is a method to the madness. That because sometimes if you're the loud and crazy one and you're the boisterous one, it disarms people to be comfortable.
Yeah, for sure.
I actually told Jenna when we were dating, I said the reason that I am over joking sometimes is so that people feel comfortable to be not an idiot, but to be comfortable and oftentimes you get to see like the real side of people when you don't make yourself as serious.
Right.
And so that's why I do what I do, is so that people feel that just freedom to be, this guy's, I can talk to this guy.
Yeah. That's why,
that's
why alongside that with you, like Hannah knows this, but that's why I love to make people laugh. But another thing for people who don't know what you look like, you and I get told that we're brothers all the time because we're two big white guys with beards and glasses.
And you both have thick curly hair.
We have curly hair, and apparently someone said the nose, and we don't have the same nose at all.
Yeah,
same ears.
But same ears. It's because you're both so handsome. But anyway, like there is something also because of how TV has done it. When you're a big guy, you're thought of as like stupid. You're thought of as like a little gross, a little stinky, a little stupid. And so being that, and then
you get blamed for all the farts.
If the bathroom gets messed up,
it was your fault. Even though, never mind, I won't get into that. But but on top of that, if you joke around and stuff, and if you're loud, of course, people think you're a class clown, that you don't have knowledge, that all you are is head empty, make people laugh, and so we've had conversations where I learned, like my first recognition of you in that was in music when we started doing music together. Like, when I first met you, like, all I knew you was the couch move guy who gave me brownies. And I was like, he could be a stoner. He could be, like, I don't know. And then we did that first rehearsal together, and I was like, oh, this man is a very talented musician who understands music, like, who understands rhythm, who understands complexity of music and all those things. And so, like, that already showed me your knowledge. But then whenever Dalton and you would get talking, sometimes you guys talked about stuff that I had not learned. Because like you both, I did not take church history in seminary, so and redacted, I didn't take church history and redacted, and you did at the college, and Dalton did, so you guys were talking about some church history stuff that was like, all I took was Baptist history. So it's like some of the stuff you guys are talking about, I'm like, yeah, that's stuff.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
you know, like, everybody has their own expertise. You know, that's the thing. And, like, I think that when you start talking to anyone, people are smart about something.
Yeah.
Everyone has something that
That's
they are knowledgeable about.
That's true.
Man, the studio audience is harassing our studio guest right now. So from that, like, a misunderstanding that people, you know, like, people get of you and a lot of things like that. What is something surprising that you've learned about yourself as you've gotten older? So, like, people misunderstand this about you. What have you surprised yourself about as you've gotten older?
I'm trying to think. That's a loaded question, man.
It is, yeah. It is. I mean,
Something that I've been surprised about, at least in my current job, I've noticed that I think we go into things a lot of times.
What is your current job? Just let people know.
Oh, youth director.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And bus driver.
And bus driver.
TA,
and
If that
teacher's aid.
If that doesn't speak to his level of patience.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You guys are too kind.
Wait, go ahead.
I
go
promise I'll be yelling at him on that bus, though.
Oh, you cut that up.
Yeah. Boy, if you don't sit.
Anyway, go ahead.
The thing that I've surprised me, I think we go in headstrong. People should understand me. People should know where I'm coming from. I think that's kind of like the. I've been surprised by when I have fielded the concerns that people have, they can then appreciate what I bring to the table.
Yeah.
I think the thing that I've been most surprised about, I don't know if this answers your question.
No, go ahead.
But yeah, the thing that I've been like, if I show growth in the things that they're looking for, like if I'm hitting my P's and Q's, then people will respect the energy and the what I bring to the table.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, I love people. I'm a big people person.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I'm not very good at admin and logistics. It's just I've never done that, never been good at it. And these last couple years, I've been like, okay, we're going to get these emails. We're going to get this calendar. We're going to send communications to people. And, like, we're good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I tried really hard to be good at those things. I'm never going to be perfect. Oh,
Sure.
Never going to be perfect at those things.
Right.
But people have respected that and then said, oh, like, I get what this guy is doing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like, by earning people's trust with those things, I think I'm then able to say, like, genuinely care for people.
Right.
And field their concerns in an effective way, because it's not just y'all should respect me, y'all should know me, and like just kind of bulldogging people,
Right. Yeah.
to get my own way. And like it's just been a growing experience that I've kind of seen fruit from,
For sure.
as I've done it, and then I get to truly care for people, and people trust that. And they know that, and they're like, oh, this guy's not just trying to push an agenda or do this and that. Yeah.
So from that, what is some advice that you would give someone who's looking and getting into, like, someone who feels, let's just say someone who feels a call towards ministry, who sees their heart towards youth through students, you know, like, what is some advice that you would give there?
Man. I think some advice is just get involved. I think that we have a tendency to overthink calling, and
For sure.
we don't just label that. I mean, calling can sometimes get lumped in a different category other than serving.
Yeah.
But it's part of that.
Right.
Like, the more that you serve, the more that you'll sense that calling. And that other people would speak into you and say, hey, I could see you doing this.
Yeah.
Or I could, I sense this like you excelling in this area of ministry or life. And I would say, man, go on all the trips you can. If youth ministry is where you think, I think the big thing with ministry, let me back up. So like, if it's not youth ministry and you think ministry, then get involved with ministry, period.
Yeah.
And then by that, you'll be able to say, okay, I like this, I didn't like this.
Right, yeah.
And then further in, I like this, I didn't like this. Can I share a little bit why I say that?
Sure.
So I actually, at a high school, I was like, well, I really enjoy being with people and I want to help people. Okay, it's very broad, right?
Right, yeah.
And then I was like, well, what about like a psychologist or a sociologist?
Uh-huh.
Okay, it's a little bit more specific. Then, well, I don't really like the broad psychology. That could be either, medical or therapeutic or
Sure.
whatever. And I was like, so what about like counseling? Okay. Because I like talking to people through different things that they have.
Right, yeah.
And I was like, okay, well then, I mean, if I'm going to counsel people, I'm also going to, if I'm counseling people in ministry, it makes sense that, okay, why not just ministry?
Right, yeah.
And then like with a counseling heart
Yeah.
in ministry. And so I was like, okay. But I didn't really know that clear of the picture that was what I wanted to do. I just had an idea.
Right.
So Mama Michael, so much wisdom.
Yeah.
She said, you just take a step. What is it the Bible says that a man thinks he knows his ways and God orders his steps.
Yeah.
Mama Michael, abridged version. But take a step in faith, and then God will go directing that path as you do it.
For sure.
And so, getting involved in serving is the best way you figure out your giftings and the ways that you feel called. And if somebody says, like, I feel called to this ministry and aren't serving, then that's like the first thing people look at is like,
yeah, of course.
Okay.
Of course.
And I mean, seminarians it's full of it.
Oh,
like it's
man. Yeah.
I'm going to be the head pastor of a church. Okay, bud. Like, how are you serving in small group?
Are you even willing to put up chairs after like dinner on the grounds or
have you spent a week at a youth camp?
Yeah, have you been to a youth camp and not been paid to be there? Like,
yeah. And so, just serve, man. Get started serving is where you figure out that gifting, I feel like.
So alongside that, what's a common myth about that field?
About
like
youth?
A common myth about youth ministry in specific.
Man, I think one of the biggest things is that you have to be edgy to be relevant. I think is a big one.
Yeah.
Is that you have to be everybody's fun guy. I actually was talking to a friend that I would consider way smarter than me, and just like he's gifted in teaching. Shout outs to my buddy Wesley.
Yeah.
And he actually said before he took a youth position that he was like, yeah, but I'm just like, I don't know if I could share this, pardon me, Wesley, but he was like, I don't know if I'm just like not relevant enough or something. I'm just not, hip enough. And I was like, dude, it's 90% like that you care. Right. That's it.
Yeah, for sure.
The rest will come with time and like what you already do. I mean, you don't have to be edgy. I mean, my youth pastor wasn't like edgy or cool, but he knew how to like be a good friend and to engage students, and that was it.
My youth pastor, like in high school, which was the only time that I really had a youth pastor, he was the science teacher at my high school.
Okay.
He was not a cool dude. He was very fun, but the thing that he really showed was how much, like you said, he was there. You know, like he was there to talk. He was there to pour into your life. Yep. He remembered stuff about your life. Like that's really, I've seen so many youth groups that are big and thriving, and their
Yep.
youth pastors are like 60 years old.
Right.
Like, you know, and they've been doing it for 30 years.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yep.
30 plus years.
Come on.
You know, that's where it's at. Like,
Yeah.
that's really good. That's really good. I think another thing that I've seen that I bet is a pet peeve of yours is that people use youth ministry as a stepping stool.
Yeah. Hate it.
Yeah. So in that, what gives you motivation? Because sometimes in ministry,
Yeah.
it's really easy to get bogged down. And what really pushes you? What are like guide stones or stakes in the ground that really keep you driving whenever everything starts to feel like it's bogged down?
Yeah. I think the big thing, there's a couple of different things, but
Tell 'em.
One of them is that, like, it doesn't all, I think when I first hit the ground running with the youth director position, I had this unknown hidden pressure, like it all rests on me.
Yeah.
If this tanks or if this succeeds. And it's just like, I don't know, there's just like a pressure in ministry to like want to perform, or like, am I doing good? Am I not doing good? And like, I think it was like 6 months in that like one of my youth leaders was like, hey, you know, you don't have to do all this yourself, right? And it was so easy, but it was like,
Right.
no. I didn't think about that.
I didn't realize.
And to like, I mean, we say like ministry is equipping, but no one like, I feel like no one really talks about how to do that.
Oh man. Like
It's like, yeah,
it's equally the hardest and easiest thing to do, just say I'll take care of it.
yeah.
But what really happens in effective ministry is to delegate things to people, equip them, have them watch you do it, and then, you know,
Yeah.
then do it with them, and then have them do it themselves. You
Yeah.
know, that's kind of the simplest, 1, 2, 3 model. But delegating things
Yeah.
to people to let them have some ownership in that ministry, in that job. I mean, that's not just that's everywhere. That's
Mhm.
everywhere. Good leadership is teaching people how to do it and working yourself, quote unquote, out of a job.
Right.
That's good. That's good leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. I like that. Keep going.
Yeah. What was the question again? I want to make sure I'm
What
on track.
motivates you? Like, what keeps you going?
Yeah, and then I'm building a team, so like other people that it's kind of like delegating, but it's also like allowing people to buy into different aspects of youth ministry.
Absolutely.
And then, taking that and running, and I'm like, hey, did that go well? Like, being open to feedback is hard. Like, hey, did this go well? Did this not go well? What can we do different? But it has been helpful when we've done different things like that. But then, I think the guide stones thing is, I think first I realized, like, at first I think like kids are going to move from like leaps and bounds.
Right. Yeah.
From like just got saved. Like I'm about to jump into like full-time missions to unengaged people groups. And it's like, hold on now. Like, but realizing that small steps for them are big steps.
Yeah.
And so like the girl that is like really shy, like when she pops out of her shell and starts talking a little bit more and hanging out with students, that's a big win too.
Absolutely.
When the kid that was like super energetic tells other kids like, hey, let's shut our phones off and just hang out for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like, that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Like kids don't do that in today's day and age, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like people showing initiative and like, hey, we want to start a youth band, or we want to do this game, or like, can I do slides? Can I do this and that? Those are all wins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like anytime that youth start to embody and to like take to heart the different things like they can do to serve God's church now, is a win. You know what I mean? And to remember that, like I even asked at camp, I asked some of the kids, I was like, hey, what do you think about like the middle school D group? And they were like, oh my gosh, we love it so much. We just like hang out, and then we get to talk about, you know, stuff that's happening on in life. And it's just a really cool thing, because like if we want the youth to look like the church one day, then they need to embody now what that's going to look like.
Absolutely.
And so like community, like I want them to feel spiritually bankrupt by themselves, and that they know that they need other people. Like a part of like, I mean, I know you shared that like this is a cool thing that stood out, you know, from my life.
Yeah.
But I realized like early on that I was an idiot. just like I realized that I needed people. I needed something other than myself. And where I found that most was with the people that I hung out with in like small group at George Wood's house.
Yeah.
George Redacted's house.
George Redacted.
Eating popcorn, watching Tim Hawkins.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about life and eating pizza rolls. And it was just...
Heck yeah.
That's where like life was shared, and it meant the most to me, because it was just like that. Like we were all talking, and I want youth to get a glimpse of that as well. And actually the middle school group is called The Garage.
Nice.
They call it The Garage because, I don't know, guys getting together and sitting in a garage.
The barber shop.
Yeah, but it's just, I think that's the cool thing, is when it's no longer just the leaders asking the questions,
right? But
it's them asking each other the questions and like answering each other's questions from Scripture, and like it's a really neat thing.
That is cool.
And I've kind of looked on that, and I was like, how do I take this good thing and like harvest more of that?
Sure.
And that's been helpful, at least. Because it doesn't always look like that. But to remember the things that are happening.
Right.
And to continue to remember, no, like I've seen God do this. I've seen these small things at camp.
Yeah.
And I'm going to hold on to them as long as I can and push for more of those things. Yeah.
So one last question about all this is just that, do you have any questions, Hannah?
I was just going to say, what do you think is the biggest lesson that the kids have taught you? Because I know a lot of times...
This is a good one.
A lot of times in leadership, you know, or when you're in a role of leadership, you know, it's all about, well, what can I do for them? What can I do for them?
Yeah.
What can I teach them? When in reality, a lot of times you're the one getting taught.
Yeah, man.
So what do you think's the biggest lesson they've taught you?
Probably the coolest thing, the lesson that I've learned, that like a really cool thing happened, not at this time of camp, but the last time before. I had also another really good friend. His name's Brad, redacted. But he's kind of like my youth group cheerleader. And man, he has been in my corner every step of the way. And just like, hey, I know you feel like a screw up, but this went really good.
That's awesome.
And I want you to know it. Just like everybody needs that.
Yeah.
Everybody needs that in ministry. But he had the kids. I wasn't there because I was attending to something else. But he had the kids write down on note cards what it meant to me, or what is one thing that you've learned from Keenan, or a word of encouragement. And they made a wall with my first letter.
Yeah.
And I walked in and I lost it, man.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, I can't see it right now. It's just like, I broke down, man. And I was like, holy crap. And it was just, I don't know, just feeling undeserving, like, and seeing that, like, hey, thanks for being there. Thanks for leading Sundays and Wednesdays. Thanks for caring for me. Thanks for, you know, noticing me this one day. And just like, I was like, I told him, but I would do it again over 1,000 times.
Yeah.
So that y'all know. But the thing that I learned most is just that kids do see. And kids do realize the things that you do.
Yeah.
And to not take it for granted that like eyes are watching. even when I'm working, but also when I'm just chilling. And that it's a two-way street. Like, I'm learning how to best minister to them, and like the things that they're excited about, the things that they want to learn. Like, I'm learning more from them, how to engage them, and but also like remembering that, man, one day when I'm old, like these are going to be people carrying God's church and living by God's Spirit now. And I don't know. There's a lot of lessons that I've learned, but I think the thing to remember is it is a two-way street, and that I don't have all the answers.
Yeah. Alongside that, with you saying, like, when you're old, how do you want to be remembered? Like, that's the last serious question. How do you want to be remembered?
So
it's okay.
My grandpa is the sweetest man alive. Yeah. And the thing that I remember most about him is also the stuff that I want to be remembered for. It just like, so my grandpa won the Citizen of the Year award in his hometown, just because he would grow crops and he would just give it away to anybody at his church.
Yeah.
And then he like knew people, would check in on people all the time, and they knew him. I mean, he was a dentist in the town, and he was good at his job, and he would work on people's teeth for free. And like if they wanted to pay and they couldn't pay, you could just give me a jar of peach jam or like and like he's just down to earth. And like I think the thing that I want to be remembered for is just loving and caring for others. Yeah. And like a man that loved his wife, dude. Didn't agree. And in fact, we knew it didn't agree sometimes. But like the respect and the love that he showed her, even when he disagreed, is like, now, Nora. Yeah. But he would never like he would get excited and things like that, but he would never like throw insults at her or demean her or make her feel less than. And that's, man, and just loved his kids, loved his kids, supported them when they told mom that she couldn't do anything for being a woman. He would march up there and be like, the heck she's not. Like, and just like her biggest advocate, man. Like, it's just a really cool thing. So anybody that knows him knows that he loves others, and I just want to leave that kind of legacy that like people know that they're cared for when they interact with me, and that just being a true friend to people and caring for others. Yeah, I think.
Well, for the time that I've known you for that. I can tell you that greatly. And I'm sure that anybody who has consistently gotten to know you knows that greatly. Thanks, your grandpap, the story that I have with him, that I came and I spent Thanksgiving week with you guys. It was actually the week that Hannah and I met online, and but while I was using you guys' Wi-Fi, she took me away from you.
It's okay. It's all for the better.
That's right. It is all for the better. But seriously, your grandpap was incredibly sweet to me the whole time. But as he's getting older, some things slip and stuff like that. And he told me the origin of his grandfather clock. I think every day, at least twice a day, he would walk by, and the clock would chime or something. He'd look at me. He'd be like, "You see that grandfather clock? I got that from a German family in 19 something." I was like, "Yes, sir. Yeah, that's right." And by the end of the week, I could, like, as he was saying it, I'm like mouthing it because it was basically the same story. But he's such a sweet man, and he remembered me the whenever I've seen him after that, which really good was really cool. That was really cool because I wasn't sure if he would or not, just being an older guy, you know. I mean, I've really enjoyed this conversation. Let's not end it on a serious note, though. Let's take some. Let's do some some funny questions here. I've got a couple. Hannah, are you perking up here?
Yes.
Oh, you have a question?
I do. I have
Go
a
ahead.
question.
Go ahead.
What's the funniest thing that you've learned since being married? Well, what is
thing.
what was
farts.
I'm sure she wants that on the internet.
She does,
Well, I mean,
and any woman you
that's
know.
biological.
That's right.
But like, you know what I mean? Like, you're married and you've got all of this, like, you're learning to be a husband, you're learning to be all of these things to each other, and then it's like, oh, well, what happened there? Or, you know, just like a funny, it can be a funny story, it can be a funny quirk you learned about Jenna that you didn't know.
Okay.
Or a lesson that you learned, like putting down the toilet seat.
Oh, he's not learned that yet.
I know.
No way, dude. No way.
I only say that because since he's been here.
Yes.
That
I'm
told
trying
us
to
he's
think.
been-
I'm aware.
There's like I'm trying to think of like a really funny story. There are some, but there was one where so Jenna like I'll touch her arm or like her back or something like that.
Yeah.
And like sometimes it's cool, but then other times it's like she'll like shrivel up and go, cold, it's too cold, stop, don't stop. And I like touch her elbow or her hand and she'd be like, cold, no I can't, no I can't. It's the funniest thing ever. But then like we'll like go to lay down or whatever, and then she's like, you don't want to snuggle me? And I'm like, how? I can't. So I don't know when the off or the on is. It's just, and she'll be like, another thing she does is like, she'll like take her feet and she'll be like, warm me up. And then she'll put her feet on
my gosh.
It's like so cold, like absolute ice cubes.
See, the way you respond to that is you go, cold, so cold.
Yeah, there you go. It just freaks me out because they're literally sub-zero. And so I'm just like,
That makes
how
me,
can you be this cold? It's 71 in this house.
that makes me think of the first time I woke up and you were sitting up in bed and scared the mess out of me.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know that was a quirky
Oh,
thing
yep.
that
So
Noah does
that
when
is-
he gets hot.
That
I
is the
remember
thing
that.
I do when I get hot in my sleep. I sit up and I fall back asleep. I scared Keenan with it before too.
Oh yeah.
Because Keenan and
It's
I.
creepy.
Okay, all right. It's not creepy.
I would get up for work in the morning and you'd just be like snoring, but straight up, like. And I'd like do a double take because I thought you were awake, but you weren't.
Well, also, if there's like
Passed
a
out.
recliner or something in the room,
Yeah.
and then like you wake up and Noah's sitting on the recliner, and you're like, "Hey, Noah, what you doing?"
Yeah.
Oh, you're asleep.
Yeah, I'm asleep.
Oh, okay.
Well, that goes back to growing up. My grandpa, like when I was little, I struggled with sleeping in my own room because it was just me and my grandpa. And then as I got older, like my grandpa would need help randomly, so I would sleep in his recliner a lot in his room, or I'd sleep on the floor in his room and stuff. And so from that, I have gotten to a place where I can sleep anywhere.
Yeah.
And we also spent a lot of time on the road, so like I slept a lot in the car, so like I can sleep
wow. That's
anywhere.
impressive.
So like that's just where it came from. But all right, so from that, some other funny questions to get things to make it where it is a little off the top here, a little less so heavy, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Describe the best sandwich.
Oh,
Yeah, okay.
dang.
We're almost done.
So there's a sandwich in there's a sandwich place in Redacted that's really good. I took Jenna there. She was like, "Man, it's all right," but I love this sandwich.
What's the
Doesn't
name of
that-
this place?
Doesn't
And-
that hurt your feelings when you're so
Yeah.
jazzed about something? Well, you know what I mean, though. Like, you're so jazzed about something, and your partner's like, "Yeah, that's great,"
That happens
I've
to
gotten
me
used
all
to
the
it.
time with Hannah. All the time.
and he
I
pouts.
show Hannah movies. I show Hannah TV shows. I show Hannah food. I show Hannah
Yep.
music, and she's like,
Yep.
"That's cool."
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
you know what I do?
Yeah.
I go in the mirror later and I'm like, that was awesome.
Yeah, that's right.
Just
Exactly.
to affirm myself.
I gotta affirm myself. That was really good.
Just get
Yeah. Sometimes I'll just record myself like, Noah, that was a great movie.
yeah.
Noah, you did so well. Noah, that was a great choice on food.
I'll remember that. Next time you're like, here, watch this really dumb movie with me. I'm like, no, that was great.
What was the
Wow.
What was the question though?
Like, what is the best sandwich? Describe
Yeah.
the best sandwich.
So the place is called. Am I allowed to say the place?
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Sponsor us, Subway Station.
Okay.
And
Substation?
it's Subway Station.
Subway station. Okay.
And it's like Subway themed,
Yeah.
but not Subway.
Right.
Can't say that.
Right.
Sorry.
But
But
we're not
anyway,
sponsored,
so
so
it's
okay.
it's toasted bread, but it's like they have, what is it called? The conductor. I think it's like turkey, ham, salami, like and provolone.
Okay.
But the sauce,
What kind of sauce is it?
the secret sauce. I mean, they put mayo on it.
Uh-huh.
You got lettuce, onions,
Tomato.
tomato, but the secret sauce is what gets it, because it's like a mayo, but it's also like a sweet vinaigrette.
Ooh. It's like an aioli.
Yeah, so it is. It
Sounds
is,
like a
but it's
messy sandwich.
like a deconstructed. It's not though.
It's not.
Not really messy, but like it's because it seeps into the bread. The bread is so like crunchy yet soft that it's just like.
Is it like a sub bread, like a sub loaf? Okay.
It is, but it's kind of like a. I don't want to say it's not like a panini. It's like a. What's
They
that kind of
toast it. Yeah, like
Yeah.
yeah, I got what you're saying.
Well, toasted, but is it pressed or is it just
No.
toasted?
Yeah,
Just
it's
so.
oven. Yeah, oven toasted.
So,
but it's great.
this makes me think this is completely different, but talking about great sandwiches, there's this place back home where I grew up in Redacted, and I don't know why we've kept this joke going the whole time, but it's a place in Louisiana. But anyway, and they had roast beef sandwiches, roast beef subs,
Yeah.
but they put gravy on it.
Ooh.
Dude, it is so messy, but it is so good. It's cheesy. It's messy. It's like the bread is toasted, and then they put jalapeno mayo on there.
Sweet mama.
Dude, it is so good. That place, I would wreck my stomach eating one of those. So much in
That's a
college.
bad mother shut your mouth.
That's right. So, let's see. One song for the rest of your life. Right now, one song. I'll give you 10. I'll give you the count of 10. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. One song for the rest of your
Through
life.
the
Go.
fire and flames.
Oh wow! Okay, so at
What
least you
was
got
it?
through the fire and the flames. The from Guitar Hero.
I was trying to name the album, your album.
Oh, my album.
Yeah.
Heart to Page. That's
Heart to Page.
That's my
the love
album.
song in that is actually
Oh,
Well.
I Choose You.
I
Thanks,
love
man.
that song.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Me and Jenna were listening to it, and I was like,
Part of that
"This is you, girl."
part of that song is talking about me and Hannah at the reception of your wedding.
Oh,
actually.
really?
Yeah.
How
Yeah,
about
that's the only time we've gotten to dance because he's always the musician.
Yeah. And well, in
that's right.
our wedding we didn't have dancing and stuff. So anyway,
Yeah.
all
How
right.
about
Let's see. What is your life motto? Let's end it on this. What is your life motto, Keenan?
Wow. The thing that I've been saying to people recently
Yeah.
is, hey, you could have been anywhere. Thanks for being here.
That's good. I like that.
And I say that to my volunteers every youth meeting.
Yeah.
And I mean, there is something to being there.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
being all there for people, for situations, for your kids,
Yeah.
for your wife.
That's right.
And I think that that's becoming my motto.
Awesome.
Anyway, words to live by.
Yeah, words to live by. That's good. That's good. We'll do a closing segment here, Keenan.
All right.
You are a hot dog salesman at a ballpark, a major league ballpark.
Get your beer here.
Give me. Hold on. Give me your hot dog call. I'll give you an example here. Yacht dog, get your yacht dog. All right, at the count of 3, you go into that character. Give it to me. 3, 2, 1, go.
Hot dogs, get your hot dogs here. Frankfurt's just 30 cents. Come on and get these glizzies. Get your Franks, get your wieners.
All right. Well,
that's cheap hot dogs, man.
30 cents.
I'd be like,
what team are you?
I was going for like the 50s or something like that.
Gotcha. Well, that is. Thank you, Keenan, for showing up
You're
here.
welcome.
Thanks for being here. Hey,
yeah, you could have been anywhere.
But you
Thanks
chose
for
to be
being
here.
Yeah.
And that's another episode of Season 2 of A Little Off the Top with your hosts,
Hannah
and Noah, and guest,
Keenan redacted.
That's right. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed it, give us 5 stars where you can give us 5 stars. And if you didn't, what do they do, Hannah?
Just ignore it.
That's right. Move on with your life. There's a million other podcasts out there. We'll be back next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.